It's Friday, and it's the time that we talk about this week's business news impacting our region. And for the Friday Business Report, we're joined now by Miro Kopik with SDSU and Bottom Line Marketing. Welcome.
Thank you.
So this week, President Trump made threats to shut down the border. And although he's backing away from threats to immediately shut down the border, a lot of people are still concerned. What would the impact be?
The impact would be huge on many levels. We do over $600 billion of trade with Mexico a year as a country. California alone does $75 billion, and just here in San Diego, we have $6 billion of positive impact on trade. Just to give you a perspective, the Otay Mesa border crossing is the second largest, most busy border crossing for trucks northbound all along the U.S. border. Almost 1 million trucks cross that border on an annual basis, which means 2,700 trucks per day go north and deliver goods and services or goods from 1 to 3 days to different parts of the country. This is a major issue, and if you stop that, it's going to wreak havoc on the supply chains of businesses across the board. And if we think about the auto industry, which is a major issue here, there's a product that Mexico makes. They make 70% of all the wire harnesses that go into autos. And a wire harness is connectors and wires that connect the power supply system of a car. So 70% of those are made in Mexico, 12% are made in Central America. If these shut that southern border, the car industry shuts down within a week.
So moving on, Amazon is actually cutting cost of products for Whole Foods, trying to get Amazon Prime users to, I guess, shop there. Is it enough?
I think Amazon finally is finding an industry that is really difficult. They looked at it, it's a $900 billion industry, the grocery industry, but it's so different from shipping books or clothes or electronics products. You're dealing with food and perishable items that consumers have very peculiar ways of, I want a ripe product, I want a less ripe product. And so what Amazon did is they thought, we're just going to target our Amazon Prime customers, and they have 100 million of them. So that would be fantastic. The problem is, Whole Foods has a bad reputation among consumers as being known as whole paycheck. So it's very expensive. And most Amazon Prime members, just by the virtue they have Amazon Prime, are value shoppers. They're going to the Walmarts, they're going to the dollar stores, and competition in this space has grown exponentially in the last couple of years. Amazon is not going to stop. So they're going to take prices down over 20% across the board in most of the wholesale Whole Foods stores, and they're going to double the amount of discounts they're going to offer Amazon Prime customers. But I think it's going to be a long slog for Amazon going forward.
And lastly, a Gallup poll found that Americans are struggling to pay their medical bills, even borrowing $88 billion last year just to cover the cost. With the unemployment rate so low, what's going on?
This is, without getting into the whole healthcare debate, it's scary to understand how this impacts the average American. So if you look at that, that's 32 million Americans, 1 in 8 Americans are borrowing to pay their medical costs. That averages out to about $2,800 per individual. Now, on top of that, 65 million people don't do medical procedures because they can't afford it, and another 60 million actually cut back on other things to pay for medical procedures. So all of a sudden, you have 157 million people out of 253 million adults that are struggling. So 62% of Americans struggle to pay for health care. That's a major issue. And even though some surveys said Americans are happy with their healthcare system, if you really break it down between asking them, are they happy with their doctors or healthcare providers, or are they happy with their insurance company, I would suspect there'd be totally different answers. So Americans are really concerned. And the last point that I'd like to make is that 45% of all Americans say that if they have a major medical expense, they could face bankruptcy. And that's including 1 out of 3 households that make up to $180,000 a year. So even the upper middle class is concerned that healthcare expenses can really bankrupt them financially.
Well, that's a scary place to end, but that wraps up our Friday Business Report. Miro, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ebony.